Hello and welcome to the Old Man Orange podcast. I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
And I'm Ryan Dunigan.
Oh, you got the Toad one?
What? Oh yeah, I just got a. I usually don't buy into these things, but there is these. There, you ever see those kind of like. They're usually at the like if you go to like a GameStop or
7-Eleven.
7-Eleven, there's usually kind of like, oh, buy like these mystery figurines. You don't know which one it is, but you're gonna pay like $4 to $7 for it, and I usually never get those things because I always feel like I get fucked over. But you were at the midnight. I was just giving you company mainly, but you were at the midnight release to Castlevania, the new game that came out.
Lord of Shadow 2.
And I just saw there was like these Mario keychains. I'm like, I don't have any keychains, and they're all characters I like, so I just bought into it and just ended up getting Toad. That looks like he's molesting a blue Yoshi. So.
Yeah, he's just getting him from behind.
Yeah, like a baby, so he's technically a pedophile and bestiality at the same time. So, yeah, too bad it wasn't Mario on Yoshi or something like that. That even sounds wrong too, but
Well,
you know what I fucking mean.
You know, I was at like a couple of weeks
Cynical
ago. I was
age
at the
we live in.
7-Eleven in Sacramento area or whatever, and they had those Batman ones that were the random kind of figures.
Yeah.
And they were half off. I didn't have any cash. But they're $2.50 a piece. I was like, I would have bought a couple of them, hopefully hoping to get fucking like Batman or something.
Yeah, that's the thing. Well, no, I saw for your birthday, Laura got you one. She got you a penguin. I'm like, oh, where'd you get that from? And you said, oh, they have these little figurine things. So I went there. I'm like, how much are these things? And they're like $6 or something. I'm like, that's pretty fucking expensive.
$5, but maybe
$5.
Maybe they were $6.99.
Like $5 and some change, you know. But no, I went up to him like, that's really expensive. You know what? Fuck it, I'm just gonna get it. I just
Batman.
It's hopefully I get. I mean, there's kind of like, I liked roughly all the characters.
There's no bad character on there, but when you're paying $7, there's more characters.
You want Batman more than just me. I'm kind of sometimes when you're a kid. I noticed most of the time when you're a kid, you kind of like, oh, I don't want the main character. I want the best friend. I don't want Ryu. I want Ken. I don't want like Mega Man. I want Proto Man. I was always kind of like, I want Mario. I want Sonic. I want Batman.
Well, I kind of felt like that too. Like, I feel like the only reason you got those other ones and you said that, you're like the only reason I want Proto Man, I like Proto Man more than Mega Man, but like, I'm just gonna use it as an example. You're like, the only reason I want Proto Man so much is really because it was the only one there, but I gotta tell everybody that's what I really wanted though. Because it was always really hard to find the main characters. That was the hard one to find, you know what I mean? You would go to the store and you would just be like, oh, they got Chewbacca at the bar, okay. And they got, it's like, well, can I get regular Chewbacca? Like one where he like can stand up and fight? No, get this one he sits down the whole time.
You get Luke inside of the healing tank.
Yeah, and you're like, oh, okay.
Actually,
or you get
Luke
Han
was...
Solo inside the
Carbonite,
yeah.
Well, Luke Skywalker was never hard to find because they had so many different Luke Skywalkers.
It was hard to find I remember as a kid, it was hard to find a really cool Luke Skywalker because I was always looking for one, and like you could always just kind of get like, okay, here's the regular Luke Skywalker, here's the Luke Skywalker,
Farm
the healing
boy.
tank, here's Farm Boy. And I remember because it was one of the only times I bought it at Disneyland because they had the Luke Skywalker in the X-Wing suit, and I was like, fucking, that's
That was
awesome.
the first one I got, but he had the helmet on. Then they had the one without the helmet. You could just
the
stick
variant,
it on.
the costume one.
And then there was one that was like, it was Luke, the one that I always wanted to find, but it was always so hard for me to find, was Jedi Knight Luke Skywalker in Return of the Jedi, where he came in a little like plastic black robe you just stuck on top of him.
I got that one.
That was always the one I had the hardest time finding. But back to this thing though, so it's just kind of like, I don't really collect figurines or anything like that anymore, but whatever, I'll get it. It'll look nice on my desk. So right next to Batpig. So I bought it. Open it up. It's like, okay, it's Batgirl, kind of with this look, like she's kind of crouched down, kind of sneaking. You know, these characters, just for if you haven't seen them, they're kind of like these cartoony looking versions, like big heads, small bodies, kind of almost anime eyes, not exactly.
Everything's almost drawn in circles.
Yeah, almost kind of like in the art style. I mean, almost in the art style of that Teen Titans Go show, but Batman characters.
Yeah,
but
that's probably a good example of that.
And you know, and it's kind of weird though because they have like a bunch of Batmans, then a bunch of Jokers.
There was literally like 15 Batmans almost on there if you look on the back, and like only about like 4 of them look different from each other.
Yeah, just like different color schemes. Like, all right, here's like Christopher Nolan Batman drawn this way. Then here's traditional Batman. You know,
the blue Batman or black
then there's
Batman.
Traditional Joker, and then Heath Ledger Joker. So, but anyway. So I think I just wanted Batman. Then I went back there another time, and I was like, okay, there's 30 different characters I can get. Maybe I have a little bit of extra cash. It's like a month later. Maybe I'll just get one more. There's 30 extra characters. What's the chances of getting the exact same one? Well, pretty fucking high, apparently. I remember just like fucking pulling it out, just like, motherfucker, you know, over.
Just like, there's that angry guy. He's yelling at a toy you just want.
So now I got this spare fucking Batgirl I spent
Just
for
in
like...
case you like accidentally break it playing with it or something.
No, I don't even. I just don't even really buy. I don't really buy figurines or knickknacks anymore. There's a time I did, but
I still always tell people though the best investment I can possibly think of, better than stocks, better than anything else, is buying in Todd McFarlane action figures.
Todd McFarlane action.
Those every single Todd
Ever
McFarlane
see that on Mad Money?
Every single one I have has went way up in price. I mean, if I spent $10 on one of these action figures, it is at least worth $30 to $40, bare minimum. And then a lot of these ones, like you get the Jim Morrison one, or the Angus Young, or the Motley Crue, or even the Kiss ones, and they're worth a couple $100s.
Was there a Scarface one?
I think there might have been.
I remember
there was quite a bit of them,
They had like one that was just kind of like they were getting really obscure ones after a while, like cult movie action figures. And there's one of like it was like
the Candyman, I remember.
It was Candyman. It was Gizmo from Gremlins, and then Christian Bale from American Psycho. So the same line right there. So.
I think there's also a Mike Myers one too. If I remember correctly. That might have been like the second run.
Well, there was like horror ones, and there was like just cult film, and I think Napoleon Dynamite was in that same thing. So.
But every single one I have, like the Elvis one, they're all worth money. All the rock
Jimi Hendrix
ones.
lighting his
I got the two Jimi Hendrix ones. They're worth at least like almost, give or take $100 a piece, I think. Mm-hmm. And it's like one's like you only pay. I mean, like action figures kind of gone up in price now. Like there was a time when you paid $3 for an action figure, then $5, then $10. Then they got the 50. Now sometimes they're like about $20 when you see them at stores.
Well, I think they now know that like the majority of people who buy action figures are guys who just collect them. I think kids still buy them.
I think that's been like that since the 90s. I mean, these Todd McFarlane ones were never like, do you think little Jimmy's gonna love this one? Like,
but
he's gonna want Candyman.
Little Jimmy would go out and buy.
And he wants Johnny Ramone next to him.
And like Kurt Cobain. No, but little Jimmy would go out and buy the Spawn ones or whatever like other Image comic ones they made.
The Spawn ones, like later on they became a little better. I remember the Spawn ones at first, there was kind of like the ones that were made to be sort of like for kids. Mm-hmm. Like they were made to be kind of more action figures than more than like a nice stand-up that you'd put like in a glass case.
They came out with Matrix ones, and I remember I bought a couple of those right when they came out.
Because it's like, I got like the Slash one too, and I got the one with the like with extra amps.
Yeah. Extra amps. There's got to be an Axel one.
No, there wasn't an Axel. It was just a Slash one.
Just Slash.
Well, because this is like Velvet Revolver Day, so it's like, fuck you. It's not a Guns N' Roses thing. It's a Slash thing.
It's no Scott Weiland with like heroin action.
Yeah.
You push a little button in his back, just like fucking needle like jamming in there.
But as I said, it's like, it's one of those, if I had extra money, I would just go out and buy every single one of those every single time. And then also other action figures too, like video game ones too. Mm-hmm. Like those Metal Gear Solid ones are always worth a lot of money.
Those were McFarlane too, weren't they?
I don't think they were.
But they had like McFarlane detail though.
They looked like it, but I don't think they were. Mm-hmm. And it's like, I got the Revolver Ocelot one, and he's not worth nearly as much as Snake, but he's still worth like, I paid what, $5, $10 for him, and he's worth like at least $40-something. But if you got Snake or anybody, pretty much all the characters people really want.
Mm-hmm. There's some that are like, I don't really like Final Fantasy enough to go out and buy it, but they had some like Final Fantasy, Kingdom Hearts ones that were like, they were like really well detailed, really cool, but like it was more like you weren't supposed to take it out of the box. Just the way the box was designed, it's like doesn't look cool inside there. And then a friend of ours, Nate, his brother got him like this giant. It was like for
set.
It was for like the Final Fantasy VII movie, and it was like Cloud on the motorcycle. This super. Actually, he did take it out. And, like,
well, I remember because that thing was like $100 like to buy it.
And I was like, Jesus Christ, So I don't know, just this. I got I'm not judging anybody for buying that stuff, but it's almost kind of like you got to like something a lot to get that. Like I don't know.
Well, see, to me, it's like, if I had the extra cash, I'd be like, dude, fucking I'd get that and put it in my house. Like, that would look badass. Mm-hmm. But then as soon as you look at it, like, oh my god, that's $100?
Yeah. 100 plus for that thing.
Yeah, I think that was a little bit more, because that's these nowadays, they have so many action figures that are just way too expensive.
And they're not made to be taken out of the box and, like, displayed anywhere.
Yeah, so it's kind of getting to the point where it's just like, But I do miss it, though, and I do think it's, like, the best investment ever. If you went out, like, say you knew day one that they were having a bunch of action figures, let's just say Metal Gear Solid action figures, and you went out and you bought every Snake and every Raiden and every, like, one, and you kept one for yourself, well, like, 10 years down the road, you could sell them all for, like, 10 times their price, I
remember going to, like, I guess it was Suncoast back then, going to Suncoast with the sole intent of buying some Metal Gear Solid 2 Sons of Liberty action figures, but all they ever had was Fortune and, like, a Genome Soldier.
I always felt so
maybe
bad
Vamp. Vamp once in a while.
Yeah, you never got fucking
They never had
Raiden.
Snake, Raiden. They never had Ocelot.
We have like Otacon.
Did they have a Fat Man one?
They probably did. Yeah, I just remember that was the thing. It was so hard to find. Like, I remember seeing the Snake one when I think Metal Gear Solid 3 came out or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was like $20. I'm like, I should fucking buy this. When Metal Gear Solid 1 action figures came out, I couldn't find a Snake one. When Metal Gear Solid 2 action figures came out, I couldn't find a Snake one. There's a Snake one in my hand, but I was like, fuck, I don't want to pay $20 though. It's like, Jesus Christ.
Was this just a standard action figure, or was it like a big doll one?
No, it would look like the Metal Gear Solid 1 and 2 action figures, like that size.
Oh, okay.
So like,
That's
I guess medium size, like 6-inch.
That's still pretty fucking expensive for like
6 or 8-inch, you know. Yeah, it's still ones like, and they've just kind of gone up. And I think that's what stopped it. Once they went past about $10, $15 maximum, it's just kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah.
It's cool, but
The last action figures I real and this
it's like stocks. It's like you don't buy stocks when you have no money.
I mean,
That's like the worst investment you can do.
I like went out and bought like I collected them in middle school. And by the time I got to high school, I'd stopped. I mean, if there's one really cool one that would look good on my desk or like on top of my TV or something, I might get it. Like I remember I had one of. It was one of the angels from Evangelion. It wasn't. I don't remember its name, but it was like the angel they fight in the first episode. I haven't actually figured that thing, and that thing was pretty cool. But generally, the last things I really and this was back in middle school was like the Street Fighter figures, and those ones were
really cool.
huge and really those were
Street Fighter ones are worth a lot of money too.
they were worth like $15 or something. Yeah, $15 when you just bought them.
Oh yeah, it's like they're worth a lot more than that now.
Yeah,
but especially like if you get like the Marvel vs. Capcom ones and the things they had. There was all kinds of them. I kind of miss having a KB Toys just for this reason.
Because the Street Fighter ones, they were like I think 8 or 9 inches tall, but they're almost like G.I. Joe dolls, but at the same time they're that size. But they're like normal figures though, super well detailed and not very posable. But they're just made to stand there and look really badass. Yeah.
I know.
And those were other ones that were really hard to find. You could always find like Necro. You could always find like an Alex, but it was I got them, but it was the hardest thing finding Ryu, Blanca, Akuma. Akuma was the hardest one to find.
Akuma's always been kind of.
And then plus they sold in variants because they had the different color schemes you could switch in the game. So it's like
fuck that. I don't like those in the game. Why would I want to?
It's Blanca, but it's pink Blanca, you know, or it's like it's Kin, but it's Kin in his blue variant suit. So
that automatically already just sounds like this one's gonna be worth less money.
Yeah,
because nobody's gonna want this.
Exactly.
It's like that's one thing I love when you play the original Street Fighter 2, like not like the Turbo Edition, not any of the other ones, because then there's only one color scheme. Yeah. No matter what, even if you forget to press, Y or square or what have you always get the regular one. Well, the new the Beware of the Batman just kind of came out on DVD finally. Yeah. Which I didn't think that was coming out anytime soon. And then one day I was just walking through, I was like, oh my god, it's fucking there! And it was $13 too, which was like, oh my. $13. I just paid $20 for Justice League War, and that's like just a movie. This is episodes.
Did you get it on Blu-ray?
No, because I didn't have any copies on Blu-ray. And I looked up online. I'm like, I don't think they have any special features or anything. It's just like, fuck it. I just want this now. Yeah. I've been really wanting to see this show. I did never want to pay $3 to watch it online.
Is that how much it was an episode? Or
you on Amazon or I guess iTunes is probably the same price too. And it's just once you look, you're like, $3 fucking an episode? What are you guys, crazy? It's like
I stopped downloading Space Dandy. I got the first 5 episodes of it and I enjoyed it. Now I'm just gonna kind of wait till it comes out on a season set or something.
Well, because I don't know. I mean, I don't know how anybody would sit. I know if you buy them on season set, they give you 10% off, but you're like, that's still way more expensive than the season set.
Mm-hmm. I was just seeing if I just give it a good 5 episodes, see if I was into it, see if I liked it.
Yeah, and I mean then, that's fine, but I mean I don't know how unless you just got tons of money just to blow, it's like you're buying a download. Yeah. First off, that's what the idea of buying a download a lot of times is kind of hard for me to, I can do it every once in a while for a game if that's all it is. Or, if it's like an independent game, I was like, I don't care, it's $5 or $10, whatever. It's a small game.
It's a rarity. I might do it with some ebooks or something, but generally I won't do it.
Even the ebooks too. It's just I look into it, it's like $15 this book. I could go down to the bookstore and get it for $4.
I got all of H.P. Lovecraft's. I got his entire his entire set of readings for $2, so that's not so bad. And I also got I got the book. I mean, we'll get back to Beware.
Well, every once in a while they got deals, and that's cool. But when you just look at the regular price, you're just like,
oh yeah, I know it's $2 less than usual. I got
$2 more than the physical copy, which is the strangest thing.
Sometimes I see that. I usually see it's $2 less, but I got All You Need Is Kill for $8, and that's not so bad, seeing as the physical copy's $13. So, and that's a pretty good book. That's a Japanese. Well, it's translated from Japanese, but it's a Japanese book that the new Tom Cruise movie coming out, Edge of Tomorrow, is based on. Maybe I'll talk about that later. But we're on Batman, so.
But no, the Beware of the Batman show, I am really impressed because I already kind of I think since I knew it was already CG going into it, I feel if I would have just turned that show on when I was on TV and would have saw it as CG, I might have been kind of like, oh, it's CG, and
since you knew,
it would have kind of like brought it down just slightly at first. But I already knew it was like, okay, I know this is CG. I've been told this already, so I'm just gonna go into it. Whatever, that's fine. And I was pretty damn impressed with that whole run, the first 13 episodes or whatever.
Same here, because you actually sent me a text saying there's one copy left.
Well, yeah, because I went there, I bought it, I was like, oh my god, there's one copy, and I got it like when I was waiting for the Castlevania. So like it just came out like that day or whatever.
Noah's been there like last week, actually.
Was it?
No, because I actually goes into another fucking Walmart story. For a while, it's like, oh, the fucking people at the movie theater. Oh, fucking asshole drivers. Oh, fucking people at Walmart is what it's becoming the next couple of trends. Mm-hmm. But no, I literally almost was going up to it just to look at it because I could see it, but there was like one of these cases where I'm not trying to be judgmental, but they fucking bring it upon themselves, all right? There's like this guy, kind of fatter, kind of older, red sweatshirt, hoodie kind of deal, then like gray sweatpants, stains, walker, baseball cap, fanny pack, and just like full on just coughing, like nasty, like standing in front of the DVDs and then like shuffling through it with both hands, looking through the DVDs, just them just like, what the fuck?
And you just got the shrink wrap on it, you could always watch that.
I know, but then there's that. And then I just kind of had to leave, just out of like loss of faith in humanity. Then his girlfriend or wife or whatever walks up. She's wearing the exact same fucking outfit.
They must have got like a 2-for-1 deal.
No, it was the exact same fucking outfit. So it was kind of like, not only do you look like you just got back from the fucking homeless shelter, but you went out of your way to look like it, you know? So, I don't know. I mean, I'm not trying to sound like a judgmental prick. These heathens at the low-class Walmart. I'm not trying to sound like that at all, but
it's true.
After a while, just like, I really... So when you told me, go get it, it's the last one there, I'm like, oh man, I'll make it quick. It's empty. It's late, so probably no one's there, really, so... Try to get in and out, and, you know...
But yeah, I just thought there was like, oh my god, I didn't even know this came out. Because some of these things, like, they just kind of release a lot of things and nobody ever tells you about it. Just so it's like kind of.
That's the reason I didn't get to it because I just left in like that's what I meant to say. That was the main thing of the story. But they were standing there. I was gonna get to it, but I'm just like, I'm not gonna fucking wait. I'm just leaving. You know.
I hate just not having just like choices anymore in life. That's the only thing about living in America nowadays. There's less choices. There really is. Like you think about it, like
more choices in one way, less choices in other ways.
Yeah, but we live in the age where it's just like you got one or the other nowadays. Before you used to be able to go like, well, I could go shit. You know, I had 5-6 stores I could go buy a DVD at. Now it's just like you got Walmart, or you can wait online. It's like, well, yeah, I don't want to fucking wait. That's the whole point I'm in town is because I don't want to wait.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because we all know Amazon sometimes takes their sweet time. Mm-hmm. If you really want something, they take their sweet time. If you don't care, it just seems to show up like in a couple
I noticed
days.
That. Yeah. Like I needed like a cord for something, and it got there like in 2 days. It was like, I need this cord. I'm not in no major rush for it. I need it. Just popped up there 2 days. But if it's something I really want,
it takes you at least over a week or something.
Better late than never. But yeah. But we're the Batman though.
It's sweet though. I really say I think it's on par almost with the animated series. I don't think it's that far away from it. I mean, animated series obviously has 4 seasons full of episodes, so it's kind of hard to always compare, 100 episodes or whatever to 13. But
I think the show's totally awesome. I don't know. I mean, I gotta watch it more. I mean, yeah, because it is 1 season compared to.
And it's only a half a season too.
Yeah. By today's standards, it almost seems like it could be a full season because I feel like I got totally I banged for my buck. Well, that could have been 1 season right there to me.
Well, I think as you get used to so many like European style shows that only have like 12 to 13 episodes. Mm-hmm. So then it's like, well, that's good enough,
And this one, like, I don't like it as much as the original animated series, but it is a really good show, and I think it's pretty cool what they're doing with it is they're trying to focus more on the lesser known villains. Rather than like another Joker, another Penguin, which I think by the end of it they might, for me, last season or second last season.
Yeah, I feel if they keep going, they'll eventually probably bring them in there. That, or if they realize that their ratings are slightly down, and they want to bring it up, they'll probably have to throw
Joker or someone in there. Like, but this actually makes me excited because there's some villains I didn't really care about, but overall the show. Yeah,
because there's some of those kind of villains. It's like there's
Cypher
or whatever reason. Well, yeah, that and Humpty Dumpty.
Humpty Dumpty. Well, they at least they made his story kind of sad. You feel a little bad.
It's not like I'm not saying those episodes are bad, but those are those kind of characters you're like, well, there's kind of a reason why they probably haven't been in an animated show since then.
They made Magpie interesting. I thought they did a good job with Magpie. They kind of made her like They almost kind of made her like
a rapist.
A rapist, yeah. She kind of
Batman,
reminded me of
Batman.
like Kathy Bates from Misery.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for her to like break Batman's legs with a sledgehammer and like write a
Keep
love.
time in bed, make him like fucking write his like autobiography.
Yeah, exactly. I'm like, almost halfway expecting that to happen eventually, but I thought plus it's kind of cool. I mean, it sounds weird at first, but using Katana instead of Robin or Batgirl, that seems pretty interesting. Right there.
It's different.
It's different.
And that's what kind of like.
I like Robin more.
I'm a big Robin fan. Like lots of times to me, like it isn't Batman unless Robin's there. That's kind of how I always feel. Mm-hmm. But I think this one works. It's just it works in its own way,
Yeah. Plus, Alfred is probably one of the best parts of the whole show.
I was kind of bummed though that after a while,
Doesn't
after
have the
Katana
mustache.
became. Well, I think that they would have. I think the reason they should give him the mustache is he kind of looks like Lex Luthor.
Yeah.
If he had the mustache, I think it would work perfect. But that's just a small thing. But once Katana starts to become a bigger character, I know Alfred's kind of pushed out of the way until like the last episode on that season.
Yeah, he'll come back.
So it's like it'd be cool to see Alfred more in there like the whole time, almost kind of like the third Robin. That sounds kind of weird, but
I think that it's more of one of those things like, well, everyone already loves Alfred, so let's give him time to love Katana. I think it's more like
yeah,
one
I
of
think
those
that
kind of
might be
things.
it. And like he's at the moment, since his legs was kind of messed up, he's kind of like the Oracle.
Yeah. Even though after a while he loses the cast. And
Yeah,
he's-
no explanation whatsoever.
No, but the whole thing with I thought that actually comes back because they actually go back to his MI6 days by the time.
I think it's kind of cool. They make him kind of like 007. He's just 007.
Yeah,
It's if 007 raised Batman.
I mean the only
If Sean Connery raised Batman.
that's a good way of looking at it, But if the biggest character, the biggest villain, I should say, they bring in, and this is even a big like commonly known character, unless you read the comics or you remember from the Christopher Nolan films, Ra's al Ghul comes in at the very end.
Yeah, that's the one main big character. I mean, probably the second biggest one that's kind of in that show. I guess it's only a Batman thing though, but it's Lady Shiva.
They did a good job with Lady Shiva.
Mm-hmm.
I really liked what they did because I'm so used to. I mean, granted, whenever I read Lady Shiva, she comes in, she kicks the shit out of people, and then she's like, "Here you go, Master Ra's al Ghul," or whatever. That's all she ever does. In this one, they actually gave her a fully like elegant kind of like elegant Lady of Death kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Now that was pretty awesome.
No, that's pretty cool. And there's a lot of small things I really like in the show too. I like how Batman's he only drinks like protein shakes.
They get that across.
I like how Batman talks in the third person a lot.
Yeah.
Where like whenever he's Batman, he's like, "Well, Bruce Wayne knows that, or Bruce Wayne does that."
He switches
and
off.
then when he's Bruce Wayne, he's like, "Well, Batman will go this thing," or "Batman's going out tonight."
I like that. Yeah.
I think just small things like that. It gets more into the character of Batman. Going like.
Even the small things they go into, kind of like how they stop somewhere and like Alfred's like, "What the fuck is this?" He's holding some box like, "Oh, there's special adrenal glands that I can combine into a shake, so it makes so I can sleep 2 hours instead of 4 hours a night." So just these
Adrenaline glands.
Yeah, is that what they were? Adrenaline
Yeah.
glands. Yeah, and just small things like that. They really get Batman pretty good because sometimes in a kids show, I understand you got to tone it down, but they still find a way to make Batman feel like Batman. Like the very beginning, when he's fighting like some thug, Batman's in the shadows, of course. The guy fires like a couple of shots into the dark. He says, "You got 2 shots left. Make them count." Like those kind of lines right there that you'd get those maybe in the animated series, but I don't think.
But there's been kind of like since the animated series, it's like there's kind of been like a
Softening.
break from that. I guess like that kind of Batman, and that's why I like about the show so much. It feels like it kind of goes back to the animated series, though it's it's now be probably known as the CG series.
Yeah.
But just things like that. One thing though it does kind of I do feel like is going even farther back in time though. It's kind of like. I wish they just didn't have laser guns though. Like,
yeah.
When I look at that, I go like, what is this, fucking 1985 again? Like Transformers, G.I. Joe, where we can't show like
and
the guns.
all the guns have like some weird little slit on them. You know what I mean?
Well,
like
they're all made to be like they want to make them
some
look,
horizontal slit.
It's almost kind of reminds me. You know how like they say with like kids guns, they always have to be like neon colors.
Yeah.
That's what it reminds me in the show, and it's a small complaint, but I just kind of feel like I thought we were past that. I mean, like I thought we knew that guns were bad, but I think we've kind of like people have pushed out again, and now we're back into this like. No, you can't show guns. It's like, can't show guns to children? Come on. Fucking laser is worse. What would you rather be shot with, a laser or a fucking gun?
Well, I think it.
I guess they're both guns.
I really
but
think.
a bullet gun.
Oh, I knew what you meant. I think the audience knew what you meant too. But I think the original animated series was really ahead of its time. If you look at other shows that were out at the time, and part of the reason why I think it got canceled when it did, but. I think what kind of comes in waves, because I think there's sort of this balance. Like you could have if you're gonna have like a heavier, darker story. I mean, they still find ways around death, but if you're gonna have a heavier, darker story, you got to like, because like they have a part where Lady Shiva's buried alive, like in Kill Bill. Not Lady Shiva, it's Katana. It's Katana. And they find a way, and I think that it's like, well, that's a compromise we got to make. If we're gonna make it this dark, have all these dark characters or these dark colors, and have like eco-terrorists like Frog and Toad, which I thought was great.
Yeah, or Pig and
Toad. Pig and Toad, yeah. Where Frog and Toad come from? My mind's not here today. This caffeine hasn't kicked in yet. But I thought that I think that's just a compromise that you got to make right there, you know?
Yeah, I guess those ones you can only with those kind of shows. It's like you can only have so much. I mean, I understand that. Like, I know it's not like their fault, obviously. It's just when I just see that though, it's like, is it real? Are we really back to that like point where people are just bitches again and they just can't I mean, it's one of those ones. Guns on TV are not guns in real life.
I know that, but at the same time, I think it's also one of those things. Maybe I'm overlooking this, but I think people are also probably tiptoeing their way when it comes to guns and Batman after the whole Colorado
Yeah, but
thing.
that's still just bitching out. It's like shit like that
I'm
happens
not
all the
defending
time.
it. I'm not defending
I mean, it's
that,
funny
but
how like you always hear about that stuff in America and people make such a big deal about it and you go like, look at fucking other countries. It's like 1,000 times worse, but nobody seems to care in the US.
Yeah.
You know, and I think just one of those
And I'm not
ones,
defending that, believe me.
because that's like, you know, you watch Justice League and that show is only like 10 years ago. Even that.
And that was actually...
And that still had guns in it, though. I mean, like, guns only were taken out...
People even died in that.
I'm trying to think of, like, there was guns in, like...
People died frequently in Justice League, too.
Well, yeah, people died every once in a while. And then even Superman, there was guns. I mean... And I just thought, like, from the 90s on... Because when I was a kid and I'd watch some 80s shows, and I was like, were they fucking using laser... Or 70s shows, too? And I'm like, fuck... Like, that was something I hated. It's like, I liked the G.I. Joe show when I was a kid, but I thought it was so fucking stupid they had laser guns, though. I was like, that is gay. That is fucking gay. I'm like 6 years old saying this too. And you know when a 6-year-old's going, that's fucking gay? And I guess because at the same time, though, I was watching Batman. I'm like, well, Batman, there's no fucking, like, laser guns and that shit.
They had lasers in X-Men, didn't they? Did they?
That one I'm not too sure about.
I remember Wolverine always slashing. The only thing he'd ever slash is
now,
people's
I don't
guns
mind it. If
or
they're
robots.
in fucking space and they have lasers,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah.
But if a Gotham police officer has a fucking laser gun and there's nothing else really futuristic in the thing, it's just fucking weird.
Yeah,
if it's Batman Beyond, I can take if they had laser guns, but I don't think they even had laser guns in that one.
No, I get what you mean. I think it's just one of those things. Like I said earlier, it's a compromise they got to make since they are dealing with some heavy. Because you have a character that talks to herself and who's like obsessed about Batman. You got Pig and Toad,
Which they're really just trying to cut people up.
They're like doing like that they always involve. They never do it, but they always try literally cut people in half. Or
at least Professor Pig has a gun though. He might have like an old school like blunderbuss, but like he at least has a gun that shoots a physical bullet or a cannon.
Yeah.
Which I always think that's funny. Like, well, cannons are less violent. Like, haven't you fucking ever seen the Patriot? That just took people's legs off and heads and everything.
Well, when I first heard they were using Professor Pig, I'm like, Professor Pig. I was like, oh, they're gonna pussify him, and they soften him, but he's not. He's still actually a pretty good character.
He's
probably
like one of my favorite characters in that show.
I liked him a lot when Grant Morrison wrote him. How he's this weird fusion of like Buffalo Bill and like Henry Higgins from My Fair Lady. I just thought that was a really cool, and like he just had some weird kind of like there's a line in I believe it's The Return of Bruce Wayne. I think it's Return of Bruce Wayne, where he says like where he's dropping some drugs, and I remember who I think it's Dr. Hurt says to him, "Are you taking like acid again? Like acid's for enjoyment. LSD is for work, you know."
Yeah.
Just lines like that, you know. So, and I know, and like there's a part where he's even like hanging upside down in the comics, like covered in barbed wire,
and he's like big guts hanging out,
and he's enjoying it. Like Piggy wants to be hot. Piggy wants to be hot. You know, just like. How the fuck are you gonna tone that guy down? But they still do a good job.
He's like a different character. They make him more kind of like they're like two proper British guys that just kind of like run around like trying to cut people up and do weird shit.
I think the basis of it's still there. They did soften him up, which I understand.
But yeah, when I watch when I read the comics and when I watch the cartoon show, I don't expect the exact same thing.
When I was 16, maybe like, come on, man, let's be fucking metal. These kids gotta grow up someday, man. That'd be me. Now when you get older, you're like, no, let's be fucking realistic about it. You know?
Yeah, it's just like, it's like...
I get it.
Yeah, it's like, that's fine. You just need to get the essence of that.
At the end of the day, it still is a kid's show, but it's a really well-made kid's show that I think if you know your Batman, you'll like it.
Mm-hmm. I think it's great. It also kind of it reminds me a lot of the Arrow show, like the music in it, the way that it's kind of like the
Do
way
you
it's
have
kind of
season 1?
No, I don't actually.
Okay.
I'd like to go out and get that. The music in it reminds me a lot of kind of Arrow, just kind of like the look, the vibe, sort of like. Since the show's kind of a continual show, it's not like, here's one adventure, here's another adventure, and then they kind of connect, but they're not, like, totally connected, where this one's kind of like streamlined, like, last time on Beware the Batman.
But what's kind of cool about it is they have their own standalone story. Well, at first it seems that way. At first it seems like this is his own, all right, this one he's going against Pig and Toad, this one he's going against Anarchy, Magpie, but then, like, it will pull things from, like, once it reaches probably 5 or 6, it pulls things from episodes, like, 2 episodes back, not just last time. It just pulls things from like 2 or 3.
And well, even you get the episodes 11 and stuff, and it pulls stuff from episode 1 back.
Yeah, and like there's the guy, I don't remember his name, but some like Stag, like the evil like billionaire guy that created Metamorpho. He's in the very first episode, and we don't really think anything of it. Then he comes back in episode like I think 6 or 7,
and it's a big deal.
And it comes full circle with that. So
and that right there, that just kind of reminds me. That's kind of how Arrow's pacing sort of goes too. The way it plays out, it reminds me a lot of Arrow.
And plus, I love kind of like the
makes sense. I mean, they've been running at the same time, and plus. Yeah. Both shows have like this kind of like the whole backdrop, like main story of the season is the League of Shadows.
Yeah,
that's the same thing in Arrow. That's
is Lady Shiva
League of Assassins.
Lady Shiva and
fucks you up.
I'll be honest. Some people might yell blasphemy about this. I think League of Shadows is a better name.
I actually think that it just sounds more mysterious. Where League of Assassins, like we all know what they do.
League of Assassins, well, it's like granted. I mean, all right. I give total props to Dennis O'Neil who made that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, though, it's one. I mean, at the time, what else did you have? They were trying to make a more realistic group of Batman villains, but it was one of those things. Now you look at it, like League of Assassins, like we're a bunch of assassins and we're gonna take over the world. Like, you guys really know how to run from your name. I mean, I'm not trying to judge, but from your name, do you guys understand like economics and geopolitics? You guys know all that stuff? Like, well, we're assassins. Come on, Whereas League of Shadows, it sounds like it can go either way. Like, oh, League of Shadows. That sounds
you don't really know. It sounds more mysterious.
Yeah.
You don't know exactly who they are because they're the shadows.
Mm-hmm. And when Ra's al Ghul comes in, I thought that was pretty cool how he and Alfred actually have history. Like, that was like his last job is MI6, I believe.
Yeah, and is that him and he had to make a choice
between I like how they find little loopholes. I'm wondering if they're gonna come back around because sometimes they feed you bullshit. It's just around like, oh no, he's not really dead because they have like the Soul Taker sword, and there's this girl Bruce Wayne's dating for a little while, then she's actually a League of Shadows affiliate, and what happens is Katana is this whole time's been smuggling. You find out like I think halfway through the season, she's been smuggling this green sword called the Soul Taker sword.
You find out like in episode 4 or something like that.
Well, I think by the time this happens,
everybody figures it out. Before she's not just like hiding in her closet.
Yeah, I think it's like 6 or 7 by the time they actually
bring in Silver Monkey.
So I thought, even though he's a made-up character, I believe he's a cool character. I thought.
I wanted to look him up. I wasn't too sure.
I went on Wikipedia, and I didn't check anywhere else. I'm pretty sure he's made just for that show, but whatever. I thought he was kind of cool. Anyway.
But then again, you'll be surprised though sometimes. It's
you are.
In Arrow, there was a couple episodes back, and they brought a character in, and I was like, is that supposed to be Talia al Ghul? It's Ra's al Ghul's daughter, but she has a different name. And I was like...
Ra's al Ghul has more than one daughter.
Yeah, he has more than one daughter. I was like, but they never fucking talk about it. Like, is it like his bastard children?
Does Ra's al Ghul come in like Arrow ever?
The whole point is, I think like by the end of the season, he's going to come in.
They mention his name?
Because the whole point's been like, it's just like Beware the Batman, where like, they keep running into all these members of the League of Assassins, like the whole time through the show, and that's kind of what the second season of Arrow has been.
Do they mention his name ever?
Yes, they do. They mention it quite a bit. But they haven't shown him yet. But they had, like, his other sister, and then there's a part where, like, her and Black Canary were, like, making out. It's like, oh, Black Canary was a lesbian affair at one point? Well, that's fucking weird.
Awesome.
It's funny because Arrow just stand there like that, like, kind of look like, the fuck?
Look, ratings aren't as good as we hope for, so you two make out. Go.
Make out.
Does it have to do anything with the story? Not really, but believe me, we're just going to show this on a TV ad. The ratings are going to spike.
Yeah.
But anyway, some of the characters, actually like Junkyard Dog and Doodlebug or whatever. Not Doodlebug. His name. Well, he like those guys are actually from the comics.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those ones.
I actually have the book Arkham Asylum: Living Hell, and there's actually a character that like he murders people and like he paints their paints blood on him or something like that. He's like a really like totally different from what he is in the show. But that's what he's supposed. That's who the guy, the black dude is in like I think out of the two two vandals that kind of like work for like anarchy.
Oh yeah. That's right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I was thinking of like another episode. Maybe I'm thinking something different. So I'm getting to this point though where all these shows start to run together. Like, did that happen in Arrow? Or did that happen in Superman? Or was that in the same Batman series? Like, once you just start watching too much stuff, it just all starts to run in your...
Kind of runs
Fuck,
together.
that could have been an Avengers episode. I'm not too sure.
What about the one where Iron Man fought like Hawkeye? Right? Wasn't that fucking weird? No, but what was I gonna say regarding that? Like, no, they find little loopholes around, like, because going back to the Soul Taker sword, I thought it was kind of funny. Like, they're not dead. We just stole their sword.
It could be though.
They look totally mummified after we do it. Because we find out there's this girl who like Bruce Wayne's been dating for a little while. She's actually affiliated with the League of Assassins, and then we find out Silver Monkey has his own agenda separate from Lady Shiva. Mm-hmm. So they like, oh well, we're gonna punish your girlfriend who's actually fucking Bruce Wayne on the side or whatever to Silver Monkey. So they zap her soul right into the sword, and she falls down like all mummified. She's not dead. Her soul's in here. She's not dead. Don't worry about it.
Well, I like what they say to Silver Monkey. They're like, well, what we're gonna do to you is you won't be ended easily. It's gonna be long and painful.
Yeah.
It's just like. It's kind of like that's kind of how the animated series always was too. It's like really violent stuff happens in the show, but like it's just kind of implied, or it gets around it nicely.
Or they stop something horrifically violent. Like I believe there's because like they had a part where they're trying to saw like a dude. They're trying to saw like Pig and Toad were trying to saw some fashion dude in half.
They're trying to saw a gay guy. Yeah. Like a gay Mexican mariachi guy.
Yeah, there was like some fashion designer or something like that.
Well, I guess they had a line that was kind of funny when they busted in there because they said something like, well, we're here to take care of your kind. And it's like they meant it like in a different way, but the way it sounded like, we're here to kill all the queers. Right, Mr. Todd?
Right, boss. No, but there's like, I actually thought like Katana, my one kind of complaint with the show is Katana, they get across that she worked with the CIA and she infiltrated the League of Assassins and she has past with them and that's where she stole the sword from. And she didn't want to give the sword to the Americans because she's like, it's too much power for one person to have. So I'm trying to hide it. I'm on the run altogether. Mm-hmm. The one problem I have is like someone who's been through all that and done all that, they're still playing the rookie card a little too much. Because she's seen and done some shit and she still has kind of like, I mean, she's not annoying or anything.
She reminds me, they kind of give her the or kind of like.
Jason Todd-ish.
Well, sort of Jason Todd, but they also she reminds me a lot like, feels like Damien because like she's been her life she's been killing people a whole lot and then all of a sudden now she's putting this forward. It's like don't fucking kill people. What's wrong with you?
Well, it's also more.
You gotta know better.
There's that, but then there's also this whole aspect of she's still kind of like fumbling around. Like she is really good and she's not stupid, but she is fumbling around compared to Batman. Where it seems kind of like it almost seems
everybody next to Batman fumbles around.
I know that, and believe me, but I know that, but it almost seems kind of like really because
when I was 9 years old, my father fumbled around next to me.
He'd say, "Put up your dukes," and it was just
I'd kick him right in the balls, and then he'd lay on the ground crying for half an hour.
That's it, Dad. I'm fucking mom now. I'm the man of the house. You can't do it no more.
I get to buy the groceries around here.
No. But anyway, just like 8-year-old Bruce sitting like at the end of the table, like eating soup, just staring Dad down. Dad just like looks down, just goes back to eating.
You know your dog dish, boy.
Fucking Alfred's like, Master Wayne, let me hear. Like, no, he has to finish before he has dessert. He's like staring his dad down. No, but anyway, Dad died. What was I saying? Oh yeah. Well, given how much shit she's experienced, she still seems kind of like inexperienced in some ways. Like if she was kind of like, she like was part of the League of Assassins and then she dropped out halfway through and like she had all the skill but not really like honed completely, I think it makes more sense. But for someone who's been like fighting and killing her whole life, and Batman
like 15 plus years,
and Batman, it's implied that this is pretty early in his career, like the first year or two, that it's still kind of like
it's one of those ones. It's kind of like I picture like Batman's probably only like 6 or 7 years older than her because he still looks like he's about the same age as he is a little bit maybe younger, but maybe like the 4th season of the animated series, sort of like that. He looks like he's about 32, 35.
To me, yeah, I guess so. I guess early 30s looks like where he's at now.
Yeah, early mid 30s. That's what I kind of picture. Like, I always feel in the original animated series, he looks like he's about like 45, kind of like a Bond age. And then like in the 4th season, it feels like he's kind of brought down to be like in his 30s.
And I know he has like 7 or 10 years of training around the
Because I always
world,
picture there's Batman.
Yeah.
By the time he becomes Batman, he's already in his 30s. You know, I mean, the pre-Batman stuff is mostly all his, big things of training, I guess.
Yeah, like I know he has like 7-10 years of training under his belt, but still, even like in the comics, they get across that it took some time for him to become Batman.
Yeah.
So I think it just seems a little weird that this person who's probably almost seems like she's done and seen more than him, unless they have a flashback later explaining something. It seems weird that she's having so much trouble keeping up with him.
I think the only thing what it is, it's like she knows how to fight. She knows how to kill. She knows a lot of stuff, but it's almost that kind of thing. It's like, well, yeah, but you've just done what you've been told. You never thought for yourself, kind of. And I think that's the difference. And Batman's kind of saying, like, what you got to do now is you got to use your instincts. And you got to know what's right and what's wrong. More of these kind of things. It's like she was doing, like, textbook. I guess it's like generally like a woman, mostly. She does the textbook style. But Batman's like, no, what you got to have a free-form thinking ability because you never know what's going to happen.
No, I get what you're saying. I think, still, even some aspects, even in the battlefield, like the thing of like, as far as like, they have the spikes go, when they're trying to kill the Gay Mariachi guy, they had the blades going, she threw, even though it was like a kind of a quick little funny scene, she threw the ninja stars at it, they go everywhere, like, oh, sorry about that, Small things like that right there, it seems kind of like, even in like 15 years of training under your belt, even though that right there still seems kind of like, why would you do that,
I guess. Well, I think what she was trying to do is try to break them all, but that just clearly didn't work.
Yeah.
What else are you going to do? She doesn't have it. It's not like Batman's giving her any fucking, like, extra gadgets.
I know. He's like, no, you have yours, I got mine.
Yeah, you pay for your own shit.
I know I'm rich, but fuck you.
I know I'm rich, but I can only afford so much.
I mean, they still get across that she's intelligent. There's just a handful of moments where it's like, I think she's probably smarter than that. But whatever. It's still a really good show.
They do kind of make her very, like, she does feel like she has a lot of emotion. And I know Batman's trying to get that across. And I think that's sort of supposed to be her, like, weakness in her character building, is that she has a lot of emotion.
Well, even
she's a woman, she's got a lot of emotion.
She can't help it, no.
You know what I mean?
No, but
she'll learn how to just drink protein shakes and sleep 2 hours a day.
Well, they do a good job making her a pretty strong, independent character for the most part. There's just a few little things here and there that I'm like, why'd you do that? But overall, it's just, there's small, minor complaints compared to the rest of the show. The show's awesome. And
I feel like that's one of those ones, maybe they just, it's like, we need some character that has character building. Batman doesn't really have character building. He's just Batman.
Yeah.
Alfred, he's already old. There's not too much more character building for him to do.
We got character building of Batman near the end, because I like when they had flashbacks to his childhood.
Oh, yeah.
And how there was actually that moment where it was almost kind of like, sort of an homage, I think, to Batman Begins, that why do we fall? To pick ourselves back up kind of thing. Because while he was fighting Ra's al Ghul, which he actually lost, which, I mean, I don't get me wrong, Batman's my favorite fictional character of all time, so I want him to win, but we never really see him lose and end to be continued. It's always...
One thing that's kind of nice in the show, though, too, is he doesn't always, totally win in the show. A lot of times people get away, and it's just like, fuck.
He gets them by the end of the episode.
Yeah, well, sometimes, not always, though. Sometimes they just kind of get away, and it's just like...
Oh, yeah, that's a good point, like Anarchy.
Yeah, Anarchy just got away. Humpty Dumpty kind of just got away. It's not like he's not, like, perfect. Because sometimes there's that kind of point where it always seems to happen. It only happens in Justice League, I know, where we're just like...
Grant Morrison writing.
Well, it can be anybody writing.
Oh, you're even talking about Unlimited, also. It
could be, yeah, just anything Justice League. Comic books, show, anything. Batman, lots of times, movies, he always has this kind of like I'm smart. Like, nobody can get in my way. And he always just, has this, I don't know what it is. They give him, his superpower. You always want to say Batman doesn't have superpowers. Nah, when he's in the fucking Justice League, he's got fucking, this brainiac brain of some sort that's just, he can't be, outsmarted. It's kind of weird sometimes.
Well, I think that's kind of the problem with writing, a big team book, because... When I was reading New Avengers, just mix it up from DC for a second. When I was reading New Avengers, certain characters, it was written by Brian Michael Bendis, and I think Brian Michael Bendis does a good job of writing Spider-Man for the most part.
I like Brian Michael Bendis. I think he's one of the better writers that Marvel has at the moment.
I like Brian.
I don't know. He might be writing for longer than this, but I think of last 15 years or so.
Yeah, and I like Brian Michael Bendis, but when he writes Spider-Man in New Avengers, he makes him... Because you gotta, emphasize what each character is that much more. Yeah. So when he writes him in New Avengers, he's that much more the funny guy. Everything he says is funny. Everything he says is silly. He has maybe a few real moments, but the whole time in New Avengers, he is the funny guy. Captain America is the guy of duty, Wolverine is the guy of kind of like, I
Rage.
don't give a fuck, you know? So
Like, he's the guy who's on a team but hates teams.
and everything he says is pretty much just kind of like,
Fuck you.
yeah, that's kind of like everything. Well, I mean, he that's the point where it's annoying, but kind of like everything he says is kind of like condescending to somebody, or he's just being, I am the badass, you know, and I'm here when I, you know. So not, I get it, because you have to write for like 7 characters, and you got to make them all stand out. And then you just get the
So
character.
they don't just all come together like, yeah, dude, we should totally do it. Yeah, fucking high fives, right? Yeah, save the day, got it.
Yeah, we're like
We're all on the same page, right?
Yeah, exactly. We're like 7 of the. We're like, you know, then you got 7 like frequent characters, and then you got like the other characters that come and go out of the book. So you got to make them all stand out. And even Justice League, because like, you know, when you generally read like Flash.
He's not funny in the Flash that often. He doesn't crack jokes all the time. That's the one thing I notice of Flash.
I noticed. Well, the thing is, Wally is the funny Flash. Barry,
Yeah, that's
Barry's
true.
the schoolboy. Barry is Captain America at the end of the day.
Yeah, because when you think
Well,
about
he's
like,
a softer Captain America. Let's
but
put it that way.
even like I'll say, because a lot of times Barry Allen in like some of the Justice League movies, it's not Wally in the movies. It's Barry Allen, and he's still kind of like they use him mostly as the funny guy. And sometimes I go like, it's fine if there being one funny guy. Don't make like half the characters like in a sense. Justice League War, it was good, but I don't like when every character is almost like the funny guy just about.
Well, that's not a good example, I think. But for
Because I
instance,
think like you know like Green Lantern, it's the same time he's not really cracking jokes in his comics.
But when I read like Justice League, that was like you know like well, I mean the obvious Justice League. When it was like, let me just say this way, Wally West Flash, he was the funny guy. But I read Wally West books where Wally was. He had some funny lines, but he generally was serious.
He doesn't got
most of the
good.
time.
He's got good material when he's with the Justice.
Yeah. He's like, I've been saving this up. I've been working on this. You know, I'm gonna
there's
be the funny
nobody
guy.
impressed in his own book, you know.
Yeah.
But when he's with there, he's like, I gotta make a good impression on Batman and Superman and whatnot.
I mean, I'm already got married to this hot Asian reporter. What am I gonna do now? You know, so, you know, so I want to prove I'm not as smart as Batman, but if I can make Batman like chuckle a little bit, then I'm good. You know?
Because like I like how in Justice League, like in the TV show, Wally's the only funny guy in there, though. I mean, not saying that everybody can't have a joke here and there, but like, you know, Wally's the main funny guy. You know, Batman's a serious guy. Superman's the good guy, like the Boy Scout or whatever you want to call him.
Batman's
Martian Manhunter's-
Wolverine.
Yeah, Batman's kind of like Wolverine. Martian Manhunter's kind of like the intelligent one. Wonder Woman's the woman.
Woman.
I don't know how else to describe it.
And then you got like
Green Lantern's sort of, well, that one he's like the serious one because
It's
if
Jon
you got
Stewart.
Jon Stewart, it's very serious. If you got Hal Jordan, it's more like fuck you, Batman, you fuck.
Yeah, and they kind of have to switch out roles. I know, like in like the cartoon, what's her name?
Because there's a Green Lantern book
Hawk
I have
Girl.
where fucking Hal Jordan punches out Batman and says, "Shut the fuck up."
Really?
Yeah.
Does Batman retaliate?
No, he's on the ground and fucking Hal Jordan walks off. Because Batman's like, "I don't trust you."
Is this like Rebirth?
Yeah, I think it was in the Rebirth one.
Okay. Because I know that Batman was the one guy who's like,
I
is he
don't
back
trust you.
He's like, why are you back to life? I don't get it. You know, he's like, he's all like,
He's like crawling, like looking at me, he's like, "Why is your hair back to brown?" Just like it's creepy. Like, I don't trust this one. Just because Ollie says you good, I don't trust you.
he's just out the window. He's like
looking.
his nose like on the windowsill. He slowly just slides down. But no, but I think it's just one of those things where you got all those characters, you got to define the personalities that much more, and I think that sometimes works. I think Justice League Unlimited, that one works fine for like
There was an. Or I say this. Just speaking of Wally, there was this part in I was watching Justice League again, just the regular one, and there was an episode where I think it was a Wonder Woman story or whatever, and they were looking for some idol of back in the day, and they're in this museum. And Wally picks up something. He's like, "Dude," he's like, "What's this thing?" He just starts shaking, and the light comes out, and Batman just grabs it, puts it down. He's like, "Don't you fucking touch anything in here! What the hell is wrong with you?" About the fucks in the house. And he's like, "You put that down! Don't touch anything!" And then it just shows a shot of Superman, Wonder Woman, and Martian Manhunter, and they're just holding something. And they just put it down really quick. Like, because they're like, "Dude, Batman just had a fucking freak out moment."
those kind of moments.
It's funny because like you don't see Batman, like at least on the TV show, you don't see him just fucking like yell at somebody,
like screaming.
Yeah, I mean he was screaming, yelling. Like Kevin Conroy was just fucking like putting fucking Wally in his place. I'm like, in all the Batman I've ever seen, I don't think I've ever seen that before, really. You know, he might
we don't want Batman to yell at us, so we'll just put this
back. He's one guy without superpowers, but he's the scariest of them all.
I just can't get that out of my. I don't trust you.
It's just like he's like crawling over buildings, just like really creepily, like almost like he's kind of like some form of like alien object, yeah. Like spying on Hal from the distance.
Yeah, and while he's like fucking like what's her name? His girlfriend.
Carol.
Carol. While he's fucking Carol, he's like he just looks out the window.
Well, this one Carol's like fucking somebody else at the point. She's like, oh well, you sort of kind of went away there for a bit. Like, they do that kind of thing a lot of times. It's like, you're gone for like a month. And, you know, I know you died, but you're sort of here, but I don't know. Like,
you're the
Spectre.
Spectre.
It's not the same. Yeah, the Spectre kind of like, somebody kind of like raped you into becoming... like
himself.
A fusion dance of some sort.
I see him like fucking like Carol and like Batman still just hanging upside down, just like from like the
Spider-Man hanging down.
Yeah. I don't trust you, and like slides back up.
It's really slow.
Peeks back down for a second while he finishes off, goes back up. Well, yeah. So Beware the Batman. You like Batman? Check it out.
Yeah, I people really got to go check it out though, because I know I've kind of heard things. I'm not too sure if this has anything to do with it. People are kind of like they were scared for a moment that this show might be canceled. But I think that had nothing to do with it. I think Warner Brothers, because I noticed of a lot of their shows, they put this hiatus out for a bit. It happened to Arrow. It happened to Young Justice.
Young Justice is canceled.
Oh, is it officially canceled now?
I looked it up, yeah.
I don't know. Because I still always think about it. Like, Batman's popular as a movie. Mm-hmm. We all know that. But it's hard to find somebody who actually really likes Batman. There's a lot of people, it's like, they go like, oh, I like Batman, you know, it's like, because I got this Batman shirt on. And it's like, well, have you ever read the comics? No. Have you ever seen the DC animated movies? No. Do you ever watch the show? When I was a kid. And it's like, well, you don't fucking like Batman. You sort of, you like the idea of Batman, you like the movie, but you don't really like Batman. What I'm saying, though, is like, is I wonder if there's enough fans out there that, because like these shows always seem to have such a hard time in recent years, comic book shows in general. Because you can even take like the X-Men show, the Wolverine and the X-Men. That one only lasted a year too. And I think it's one of those ones like, I don't know, because, you know, I bet you the main audience that watches it is adults. I bet you it's not kids as much. There is some kids, obviously, but I bet you it's adults more than anything else.
One that I think it is, I think it's kind of like what Paul Dini said in that one episode of Fat Man on Batman, where the network says, look, it's doing good, but the sponsors want it to be more kiddie so we can to sell toys and whatever. And one of what I really wish, here's kind of like my dream here's my dream for like, my dream synopsis for like the perfect Batman show. Kind of keep it like, just have like, you know, typical 22-minute Batman show, but have it done by the guys who do like the DC Universe movies. Just have it be like on Adult Swim or on Tsunamis or something.
Make it like an actual adult show.
You know, like something.
So you can have a bit of swearing and then a bit of more violence.
Something,
people can die.
Something as dark as, say, Under the Red Hood or you know, something around those lines. Or like Dark Knight Returns, you can like something you can make like that, and even like take, you know, like it could be a continual story or something. Like that's my idea of like just the perfect Batman show. But
well, because you talk to most kids though, it's like, and people, I'm just seeing people around our age. It's hard to find somebody that actually really reads comics. It's not that common. Everybody I find that reads comics, it's like, oh, they're 40 years old or 35 or something like that. It's you don't see too many young people. It's like, yes, they know who Batman is, and maybe they play Arkham Asylum. Maybe that's as far as the Batman's gone, and they've seen Dark Knight Rises and so on. But I know it's like, because I always, once I find somebody, it's like, oh, you like Batman? Well, did you fucking watch, you know, like Dark Knight Returns or Under the Red Hood, or did you see Beware? And then they start kind of doing this thing like, I never heard of any of that stuff. A lot of people never have heard of those DCU movies.
That's an example.
Even they say they like Batman. That's like they've seen all the movies. You know, they've seen all the Superman and everything else related to it, but they've never heard of the DCU stuff.
There's a girl I work with who, it was kind of like she really likes the Batman movies, and she said when she grew up she read the comics and watched the cartoon, but you know she eventually fell out of that. And I said, well, you should check out, I think I let her borrow one of the DCU movies. I believe it was Under the Red Hood, because it just seemed kind of like a simple one. It just seemed like kind of
it's simple, yet it's kind of like, it still is at that point too. If you didn't know Batman well enough, like if you only saw the movies, you'd be like, who the fuck are all these other characters in this thing? What the hell is Nightwing?
Yeah, what I mean is simple is it's kind of like, I think there's what I'm trying to say. You don't need to go in there with all this kind of years of Batman knowledge. Like Dark Knight Returns, even though I think you could get that for the most part. That's like, if you put them together, that's a 2.5 hour movie.
Well,
And
I
that's
think
kind of
that
asking
movie,
a lot of someone. So.
I do think it makes a bigger impact on somebody when you have more knowledge of Batman. The more knowledge you have of Batman, I think the more effect that Dark Knight Return has. Mm-hmm. You know, when you just know him from a couple movies, it's just kind of like, oh, he's just old now.
Yeah. And I think that I think Under the Red Hood is like, I think that's kind of a perfect opener for someone who doesn't really know Batman that well. For like outside
See, I always
the movies.
thought that one was a little bit more complicated because it has a lot of modern characters, and I say modern as in
10 years.
30 years, but there's things that like a lot of those characters never been. Nightwing's never been in a movie. Black Mask has never been in a movie.
But you got Joker. I think you got Batman, you got Joker. Like, Robin dies at the beginning. I mean, there's some characters you don't know, but like, okay, there's Joker.
As it goes on.
There's Joker. I know who Joker. I know who Batman. I know who Robin is. Like, oh, wait, Robin's the bad guy? So, and I showed that to her, and she liked it. She thought it was pretty cool.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that it's one of those things that's just a matter of just advertising the right people. I also think it's just our town. We don't really have a real, like...
Well, I don't think that has anything to do with our town, though, because I'm talking about these people, you know, I mean, like, obviously, yes, you're going to find this if you look deeper and deeper, but I don't think it's... I know you always say it's our town. I don't think that's truly it.
Well, I'm not trying to talk shit on our town for the sake of talking shit on our town.
Because I think it's those ones, because you go to a lot of places, and it's like, you know, I mean, yes, you go to a city, obviously, it's like once you...
More people. So.
Yeah, the more population, when you only got 20,000 people, and you go to a city, it's got 500,000 people, it's the same amount of people, it's just you times that by however much more people there is. That's the only reason.
That's a good point.
But it's still one of those ones, like, a lot of people, though, Batman, it's like, it's weird, because Batman's so popular, everybody knows who Batman is, but they don't really know who Batman is, in a sense. They know him just from, like, the movies.
And if that's fine, that's what they want
to
do.
Well, no, I'm not saying that's it. I'm not saying that's, like, they have to know, but I'm just saying, like, how popular is Batman to the real people that like Batman, you know what I mean? The people that really, like, you know, that like the comics and like the shows and like the animated movies and like everything else in between.
Yeah.
That's the audience that I'm always thinking of. And I'm thinking that audience might not be as big as...
I'm thinking more than anything, you just got to advertise it. Because I'm assuming, obviously, the DC Universe movies do good because they've been making them for, like, the last...
Well, I think it's, like, they make all the money they need to make. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. But it is kind of strange, though. A lot of people have never seen those or even heard about them.
Well, comic book stuff is definitely way popular than what it was, say, 10 years ago.
And I think it's also because it's animated. So there's something about animation, and people, they still have that mindset that if it's animated, it must be for kids.
Yeah.
I think that most of the population of the world still doesn't, like, they can believe a comedy, like something like South Park, you know, can be for adults. But the idea of a serious animation that's, you know, not comedy, I think it's hard for people to take in still.
That is, I think, the biggest thing.
I think that's the biggest thing that kind of...
I think more than anything... I think the shows, I think the big thing with, like, you know, as far as finding the audience, I just think they're advertising it to the wrong people. I think, you know, throw in, like, maybe, I mean, you don't got to make it obscenely more violent or obscenely much more language or anything. I just think you just got to maybe put it, like, on a different time slot, somewhere on Adult Swim. Well, even if you just made it
like PG. You know, it doesn't have to be maybe PG-13, but...
Well, even, like, Young Justice was TV PG.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, they started doing that, like Star Wars, I noticed that some of the Cartoon Network did is...
I wondered that Beware the Batman might be TV PG then, too.
Wouldn't surprise me, because...
I can't imagine it being Y7.
Yeah, because they would do things like, I remember it was like...
I guess I'm thinking more like PG, like a movie PG, not necessarily a TV... Because TV PG is kind of like still farther back. Like a TV 14 is not like a PG 13. It's more like a, you know, like a TV 10 almost.
Yeah. Well, I think, for instance, like, well, what Cartoon Network was doing for a while is they're almost trying to find, okay, because before it was, you had kids' cartoons and you had adult cartoons. They're trying to fill that gap with certain time blocks, I noticed, because back when my nephews lived with me for a little while, when Cartoon Network was on, they had, like, okay, here's the one generally for teenagers. Even though it's still kind of on the kids' block, even though it's still kind of on Cartoon Network time, this is pretty much aimed at people from 12 to, like, 15 or something. So they might say, like, crap or we're screwed, but they won't say anything beyond that. And there's like, all right, now we're moving on a little bit. Here's, like, something a little bit mature, not as much mature, but it's still kind of within the realm of, like, a kid could watch it. It was still on Toonami. It was before they reached the Adult Swim, like, lineup. It was like a mech show. It was like a CG, like, cel-shaded mech show. Well, it was like parts of it were, like, traditional anime. Other parts were, like, CG. Cel-shaded stuff. It was like NASCAR, but with robots.
Oh, I remember. I don't remember what it was, but I remember seeing ads for that show.
I saw 2 episodes, and what I saw wasn't bad, but it was like called GPX or something like that.
Yeah, I think that was
something like that. And like the characters, there wasn't like obscene amounts of swearing, but like one of the characters was getting hassled by like by another pilot, and he picks up like a wooden like practice sword. And says, "All right, let's go, you punk bitch." You know, he said that.
That's surprising too. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's one of those things like I guess you can get away with. They're trying to do like, all right, this does have a TV 14 on it, but let's be honest, kids can handle a few curse words.
Yeah, I think people have become getting a little bit smarter because nowadays it's one of those ones like I think people always want to have this magical like view of like, oh, children are just children forever. It's like, no, they're all fucked up by the time they're 10.
And I don't know if they still have that type of run, but that's what they had for a while. They kind of like, progressively like, all right, kid stuff, now here's teenager stuff, Adult Swim stuff. And I think that you could probably just throw, and I believe that right now Batman and Young Justice, or what it was Young Justice, were like, they're on DC Nation, which I believe that was probably like on the like teenage stuff, even though they never really swore or anything. I think that you could probably just take similar shows like that, or Wolverine and the X-Men, if you had them on some kind of like you know, Adult Swim type kind of lineup. I think they do fine.
I think if you just kind of market it more towards an older crowd, because we all know that even though it's called Adult Swim, that's more like the teenage section when it really gets down to it. Because like in high school, that was like the ultimate thing. Once that came out, or whatever. I guess it came out when we were a little bit younger than that. But
it came out my 8th grade of. It came out for me in the 8th grade, and then I watched it throughout high school.
Yeah, throughout high school, Adult Swim was like the main thing. It's called Adult Swim, but it's technically what all like the high schoolers watch.
And even all the animes. The animes were generally, I mean, not all the animes. Like Cowboy Bebop's an exception, but like I'll say this, Full Metal Alchemist, that's a good show, but it really was kind of aimed at teenagers. Really, when it gets down to it, it's a well-made show. It's a good show, and there is more to it than your average anime. But really, at the end of the day, that had a lot of things that work. Like, so I very briefly dated a Japanese foreign exchange student. She told me that show was generally kind of like, she compared it to an American, something, not American, it's actually British, but she compared it like, it's kind of like a Japanese Harry Potter, where at a first glance, it seems like it's a kid's thing, but the more you watch it, there's
got deeper things in it.
Exactly.
Well, what I've kind of always learned is the easiest way you can always tell what something really is for is look at the age of the main character. Or the couple main characters. Because sometimes it could be like Johnny Quest, but then also Race Band and Dr. Quest are also like main characters too. But Johnny Quest, he's 10 years old. Who's its target audience? People that are around 10 years old. People that want to be Johnny and have that foreign friend and have the dad who's a scientist and have that cool, almost uncle-like, you know, ex-military guy.
Yeah.
That's why I was looking at that. Like, that's an instant example of how you can tell what a target audience is for. You know what I mean? Full Metal Alchemist, what are they both like 13, 14,
They start off as like
they look
10.
like they're like about 17, but
they start off as they're 10. I think by the time the show ends, they're 15, and then the movie, it's like they're 18.
Yeah. Well, that's in the
or Ed's 18, or yeah, I don't remember.
But but you look at that and you go, well, that makes fucking perfect sense. It's a show that's made for teenagers.
Yeah.
When it really gets down to it,
and a lot of the shows.
And then you look at Batman, and you're like, it's a guy that's 35 years old. Who likes Batman the most? People in like their 30s and 40s.
Well, I think it's just hard. I mean, Batman Beyond was the one attempt, but it's hard to do teenage Batman. Because it's hard to have someone that has that much life experience, knows that much shit,
and
it's like
still
16.
Yeah, you know, it works for like Spider-Man. I think
that's why they had Teen Titans and Young Justice in the first place. And
you know, I was actually watching an episode of the original Teen Titans, not Teen Titans Go, the other day, and I think in Teen Titans, Beast Boy is supposed to be the gay character.
The gay character?
I think he is. Like, look at the way he talks. He's kind of got that weird, high-pitched lisp voice. In this episode, he really wanted a moped more than anything else in life. And like, the things he was doing in it, I never noticed this when I was a kid, but it all makes sense now. He's supposed to be the gay character of the show.
They had like some
Robin's supposed to be like your like regular kid, you know, the relatable one. You got fucking
Starfire's the lovey-dovey, like sweetheart.
Yeah, she's kind of like almost
kind
like
of a ditz.
Sort of like the preppy girl, I guess. The ditz. Obviously, Raven's a gothic chick. Cyborg's.
He's the cool guy. He's the athletic guy.
He's the cool black guy. That all of us white people aspire to, but we realize that we're just Robins. You know, but I'm like, dude, that's what Beast Boy is. He's the gay kid, but nobody knows he's gay at the moment. But when he grows up, he's gonna be gay. Like,
well, he had a major crush for Tara before she died, and there's sort of like,
well, yeah, it's a perfect example. That's always how gay kids are in high school. You always see like they're kind of doing this, and you like realize they're like, no, he's just fucking good friends with her. That's what he was.
He like had a thing for Tara, but then I don't remember, she died, and that was a show I kind of tuned in and out of. And there's sort of a thing with him and Raven, but Raven, she's the goth chick that hates everybody, so never happened. Well, that's an example of a show. Like, here's the thing.
For example, it's a teenage show.
It's a teenage show, but
when you get older, you watch Justice League.
Well, I noticed something when it comes to when it comes to superhero shows, I mean, I haven't really watched cartoons made for kids in a while, with the exception of like Young Justice or Beware the Batman. But it is one of those things where it's kind of like when you look at them, when I think back on like most action-based shows for kids, they generally were like, those are the only ones that really had a lot of emotion in it were the superhero ones. When I think back, because you got to carry that over to the comics, and I think that is one of the few things that superhero shows kind of had over everything else. This seems like they had. I mean, I hear Avatar: The Last Airbender show is really good. I've seen 2 episodes. What I saw was good, but generally, I think most action cartoons were kind of like badass action. Where I think the good superhero ones that were based off comics actually acknowledged and pulled from some of the material and brought in some of the more dramatic things, which that's kind of really a big backbone of comics, is how like
Dramatic things, yeah.
dramatic, and like how comics are almost kind of like just they're frequent tragedies, really. They just,
Yeah.
you know, and even like Teen Titans. That show was very kind of trendy and made for the time because anime was popular.
It was made for like yeah, it was made for. It was really a smart idea though, because I will say this, as a kid at that point, that was the time when I was like, you know, fuck American cartoons. It's all about Japanese anime, because they were kind of giving you shit that was like, oh my god, there's people dying in this, and people are swearing, and all kinds of stuff's going on. There's fucking nudity. And it was like, at the time, you're just like, oh my god, I've never seen this before. When you go back and you get old and you watch it, you realize they're like, no, the American shows were made actually more for adults than the anime ones. They just kind of slap stuff in there sometimes
to make it seem more mature.
Yeah, I mean, you find the real adult animes later,
but
so Teen Titans made fucking perfect sense, because at that time they're probably going like, well, here's the thing, people care more about fucking Pokemon and Dragon Ball Z than they care about Batman and Superman.
Make it more anime.
Make it look anime-ish, and we'll confuse the fuck out of them.
Well, I think here even to that show's credit. I mean, because it's probably of all the DC Universe movies, I mean, not universe movies, of all the DC like cartoons, I think that one is one of the weaker links. It wasn't a horrible show or anything, but it was one of the weaker links. And
I think
to its credit,
it's
though,
good. It's like a gateway show. That's what I kind of feel because when I was watching it, I watched about 2 episodes or so, and I was like, you know, it's not bad. It's not like I couldn't imagine sitting down and watching like the entire season in a row. But like when I was watching them, I'm like, they still got good stuff going on. But what it really is, it's a gateway show. I almost feel like they kind of have Teen Titans, and every once in a while they'll fight, you know, a supervillain or something like that. But a lot of times, like, they're dealing with more like regular like teenage problems, like, man, I need to get a job, or I need to get laid, or I need pizza.
Well, no, there's like, well, for instance,
like they kind of deal with that, or I need to get my car, or give them my license, or something like that. So they have a lot of that stuff. But I do feel like it's a show that could gateway you. Go like, by the time you kind of grow up, and if this is it for somebody who never like, you know, grew up with Batman or anything like that.
That kind of worked for a friend of mine, because, you know, kids watched Batman, but a good friend of mine, he watched Teen Titans. He loved the show, so he went on his way to get the comics, and then he got into other comics.
Yeah, so I think it's a good gateway. When Teen Titans came out, I remember being a little bit older than what that show was kind of targeted towards. I still like would watch it every once in a while, and I did enjoy it. But I do remember kind of being like, it was like if I was 10 years old when this show came out, it probably would have like appealed really well to me.
Well,
but then because it came out probably when. It came out in high school, that's what I just remember.
I remember it being in high school, yeah.
Yeah, so by that point it was kind of like, well, I got my Cowboy Bebop and my Full Metal. Like,
yeah. Well, that show right there, I think to that show's credit, because it was
Justice League was out about that same time too.
Yeah, well, to that show's credit, even though it was kind of it could be really silly and kind of like over the top sometimes, they would actually get in what felt like some pretty sincere moments. Like, there's an episode where, I don't remember the details, but Robin was trying to infiltrate and go after Deathstroke. And he was pretending to be a bad guy, and he didn't really tell anybody else. And then by the end of the episode, they find out it was him, and everyone's kind of pissed off at him. And he was, I remember Starfire went up to him like, yeah, they didn't use these exact words, but Jim was like, what the hell happened? Why didn't you tell us what was going on? Like, well, I wanted to try to infiltrate Deathstroke's lair, and I didn't want to hurt any of the team or something. Like, well, a team works together, and if you don't trust us enough to work with us, we're not a team. And if we're not a team, we're not a family. So what are we? And she just walks out, and just Robin alone in this room, like in a workshop or whatever, low lights, episode ends.
Yeah.
That is kind of heavy-handed for a kid's show, but then it was the thing that would almost ruin. So it'd be like some good moments like that, but then there'd be like these moments where it was just
it's wacky fun time.
It's Raven's birthday, woohoo! And then at the end of the episode,
She hates birthdays.
Then at the end of the episode, Raven, you're going to kill everybody you know and cause the end of the world. Tune next week, kids. That was like the way the show.
Well, because the show is kind of pandered on like that kind of like it's like the wacky fun kid type show, and then it kind of wanted to like we'll kind of sort of feed them in
your
there,
traditional
your traditional superhero darker style.
Yeah. So I mean, it was a good. I mean, that show was all right. I think it had its moments.
Well, I think Teen Titans is like once you kind of get older, anything that's got the word fucking teen in it has already lost you.
Yeah.
I will say this. That's one of the ones I like Robin.
Even though
I like Cyborg, but I kind of like when Cyborg becomes Manborg.
Manborg.
Not Boyborg. Manborg.
Even though I like...
and I like Raven,
Even though I like...
Starfire's okay.
I think Starfire's...
I'm not the biggest fan of Starfire.
Not from the cartoon and the comics.
In the comics, she still does kind of weird shit, too, though.
I guess I'm reading... If you read a character long enough, it doesn't really bother. I guess I'm reading Red Hood and the Outlaws a lot lately, so... Even in that, they still... she's not my favorite character, but after a while, you read a character enough, you get kind of attached to him,
Yeah. Oh, I know that kind of goes.
But
it's like Damien. It's like, after a while, you warm up to him, you go like, fuck it, he's Robin. That's
and if you still don't after all this time, it says something about the book or the show or whatever.
Yeah, if you can't warm up, that means the character's probably not good enough. Then.
Yeah.
Every once in a while, it's just going to be something you don't like. Like, here's something I don't like. This will transition to something else. I'm not a big fan of Seth Rogen, but there is this movie coming out that he's working on, which kind of bums me out because I'm like, really? It's like always the best things in life. There's always something wrong with it. Like whenever something's really good, there's gonna be something really bad. He's making. I'm not too sure if it's gonna be a documentary or if it's gonna be an actual movie, but it's gonna be a movie about the wars in the '90s of Sega and Nintendo.
Really?
Yeah, it's him and what's the guy?
Evan Goldberg?
Yeah, that guy. Those two guys are working, and I think they're writing, directing something in between on a console wars movie based off. There's a book that came out. It kind of describes all that stuff.
If they're involved, I'm guessing it's probably going to be like a dramatization of it or something.
That's what I thought, but it's kind of like up in the air. There's not tons of details. There's probably more details out by now. When I first wrote that down, it was just like a blip in like a newspaper thing, and I was like, I just remember going like, something so cool. One of the coolest things I could possibly think of. I can't think of too many movies that'd be cooler ideas than that. And then it's like, one of the few actors that I just don't like.
You got to see This Is the End. You really got to watch This Is the End.
I know. It's never. I don't think there's ever gonna be a movie that changes me on him. I feel I'll say this: if he's not acting in it, I think I'm better off. Like if he writes and directs it, I think I like. It's kind of like Superbad. He's not in it very much, and he doesn't really bother me in that one. Because I think he's not the main character, and he's sort of there, but not too bad. It's like, there's other movies he just annoys me so much. He's just kind of like this guy who just writes himself as this really cool guy, and he's always getting all this cool stuff. Even if funny stuff happens to him.
Even most of the movies I've seen him, he doesn't write himself as the cool guy. Sometimes
I guess
like,
I just think like Pineapple Express.
Not even that. He's still kind of a schlub in that movie that gets.
Yeah, but he's like they give him like he's like, oh, he's dating the hottest chick in high school, but he's 35.
But even at the end of the movie, he's like, that was a fucking mistake. What the fuck are we doing? At least they went back and acknowledged it.
By that point, though, it's almost like too late. It's like you already wrote this. We all know you did that.
Well, it's for the movie, for the sake of saying like, this was a fucking mistake. This chick, this shouldn't happen. What's wrong with us? That's kind of like what it says.
I guess, but still, that doesn't really come across that way. But so it's like I see it and like, God damn it, Seth Rogen's gonna be part of this. I'm like, I hope he drops off. I really would like. I would like just if it's I know that like there's people out there that really like him a lot and whatnot, and I know that like
I like him. I'm not like
he sort of feels like he does because to me he reminds me kind of like the ultimate kind of like hipster like idol in a sense, and it's just kind of like of comedy, not like music or anything. And to me, it's like one of those ones. It's like whenever it's kind of like he's just hogging his way into like because he kind of does that thing where like, well, I'm cool, I like video games and on comics and all that stuff. It's like, yes, but you got that like hipster ability that makes it kind of seem douchey now.
I guess because I heard an interview with him and Evan Goldberg on both Nerdist and Mark Maron, and he sounded like pretty level-headed and like
I'm not saying
I like his movies more than you do, so I guess it's kind of
well, it's like I know it's like
I'm not like a huge fan of him. I mean, I like him. I'm not gonna go see every single thing he was involved with. Like for $2, I bought Green Hornet, and I'll have no problem saying that wasn't that great of a movie. But
$2 can't complain.
$2, I really can't complain so much. But there's some interesting things about it, but overall it wasn't that good, really. And that's a movie where he was miscast, and he was kind of the thing that brought the movie down.
Yeah, but then that was one of the ones, like, I'll tell you this. That's why I didn't go see the Green Hornet theaters. Whether or not the movie would have been good or not, like, that was like, well, you lost my ticket already.
Well, I'll say this. Check out This Is the End, because that is a really good movie. And
well, that one feels like there's enough other people in it to make up for it, I think. Mm-hmm. But it's like, I just like that console wars thing. It's like, such a cool idea, and somehow he movie hogged his way into it. I feel like it's another Fanboys. Fanboys, he was never originally written in there, and then all of a sudden he like, I don't know.
I doubt he just elbowed his way in there with
I bet you it's one of those ones. Like, I bet you the guys that made it were like, fuck, because that movie took forever to come out. It took like 4 or 5 years, and it's a comedy. Like, I don't know how it's not like they're trying to make this huge like Matrix-y action movie.
Even when the movie came out,
so it's like one of those ones. By the time it like finally did, it might be one of those ones like I felt like they put him in there. It's like, well, this Seth Rogen guy is popular now because of Knocked Up and stuff. Put him in your movie, like, and I feel like. And then he movie hogged his way into 3 fucking roles.
I think it was just 2 roles.
Yeah, he's in 3 parts in that movie.
What is he? He's a Star Trek nerd. He's a Star Wars like hillbilly like pimp, and then
he's somebody else. I haven't seen the movie in such a long time, but I know he's in 3 parts.
Even that movie, not trying to talk shit on it, but that movie, it is like it's a decent movie, but it's you almost kind of liked it more than you wanted to because it was a movie dedicated to like Star Wars fans. But at the end of the day, it was just kind of like
it's not bad. It's not an amazing movie. It's one of those ones. It's fun. It's interesting. It's kind of got like the comedy's not like the greatest in it.
It's more the concept.
Yeah, it's the concept ideas. I think what sells that movie more than anything else.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't know. It's still those ones like that. Console Wars. It's something. The idea I like it so much. I hope it's more of like a documentary. I hope it's something serious. I hope he's not going in there trying to play all the roles or something weird like that, or trying to be the main character of it.
Where
it's like 2 Japanese companies, and he's somehow, some way finding a way.
It's the American branches or something like it's like being like the American branches, and like they're sabotaging each other. Like James Franco runs over. He like works for Sega. Seth Rogen works for Nintendo. They're running over. They're sabotaging.
It's like I really hope it's not that. But no matter what,
if it is, you're probably gonna see it.
I'll see the movie. That's the movie no matter what. It's like even if he's on the fucking billboard of the movie, I would see it anyways. I'd kind of be hating myself for that part, but it's like Nintendo, Sega, Nintendo, Sega. I'd just be repeating that in my head.
The poster is just Seth Rogen like spreading his ass cheeks open. It just says Sega Nintendo War
with like a fucking credit card reader on it, so you can swipe to get your tickets.
You'd still probably.
I would still do it. I would break down and do it just because it's Sega, Nintendo, 90s, my era. Like it's like that kind of thing.
It is weird now looking at movies and seeing like it's weird seeing like period pieces in the 90s now.
Yeah, because it's like that console war thing.
Because we were there for it when you actually
that was like the biggest thing. I still have this fucking Sears catalog from 1995 that has like the ultimate selection of console wars, where Sega had like 5 systems out at one time. They had the 32X, they had the Genesis, they had the CD, they had the Saturn, they had the Game Gear. Nintendo. Well, they just had the Super Nintendo and the
Game Boy.
Yeah, the Game Boy and the Virtual Boy. Mm-hmm. But I don't know. So it's one of those ones. Though. It's like it's a great idea for a movie, and like, I mean, at least I guess you gotta look at it this way. It's like, well, he can get it going because people seem to like him. So, it's better than like getting 2 guys that nobody knows of trying to make it, doing a Kickstarter thing, and then getting kind of like a half production.
Yeah.
At least he can put the full amount of money. So if you just gotta look at the positives of it.
Maybe it's a documentary, maybe it's a full... Because he's actually producing... he's not starring in it, but he's actually producing, like, for AMC, the show, the adaptation to the comic Preacher.
Oh, yeah.
So, I think he's a big enough fan to know when to step out of it.
Yeah.
And he even said, like, in the interviews on Nerdist and Mark Maron, he's
like in probably once he's, like, sometimes like ones when you kind of pull things off, like, from things that are, like, many years ago, it's kind of like, you can't always base that off what the person is nowadays. I know it's like I have more of these like kind of like experiences just from like the earlier movies I watched of his, where I was just kind of like, oh, this guy's just a total douchebag.
Well, even in like Nerdist and Mark Maron, he was saying kind of like, look, here's the thing with Green Hornet. We were coming off this, we were coming off that. People really liked us a lot, so they said, you guys should make Green Hornet. We're like, all right, it just worked. We just got a little high on ourselves, and we kind of wish we didn't, but whatever, we learned from it.
Yeah.
So he's, he acknowledges his mistakes.
Yeah. Well, that's probably a good place to leave off at. Make sure to check out Beware the Batman. I was going to say Beware the Bat, but I think it's Beware the Batman.
Well, that's the theme song.
Yeah.
Just Beware the Bat.
Did
you cut off early? They cut off early? Okay.
Yeah. But, and then check us out on oldmanorange.com. Go send us an email at oldmanorangepodcast@yahoo.com. Give us reviews on iTunes and Stitcher and any of those other ones that we happen to be on.
We're on Facebook also, like us there.
Yeah, you can go on Facebook, like the page, and whatnot. Till then, I'm Spencer Scott Holmes.
I'm Ryan Dunigan.
And we'll see you some other time.
Bye.